A question that I often get asked is, am I evil? And most people don't ask it like straight up, like, am I evil? But what they're really asking is like, am I broken? Am I beyond repair? Was I born just a bad person? I see this happen, I think, because people have tried so many times to figure out how to stop and they can't, that they wonder, like they start to believe themselves that it's really impossible. So people actually come to me and say, I don't feel worthy to use the atonement. And I believe that there's this thing in the culture that almost says that in order for me to receive God's love, to have Jesus heal me, I need to be worthy of it. I need to step up to it. And people seem to believe that in order to be worthy of the atonement, they have to stop the behavior they're currently having. As though they can't get healing until they stop causing damage. And although I understand why somebody would have that attitude or belief, the problem is, as I discussed in the last video, we often created these habits long ago when we were just kids. So there was a quote by Spencer W. Kimball where he said Jesus saw sin as wrong, but also saw sin as I'm going to butcher this, but coming up from deep and unmet needs on the part of the sinner, which allowed him to love the sinner but condemn the sin. So there is no doubt that the sin, the compulsive behavior, is unhealthy and it's not working, and we're going to condemn it from the perspective of that, hey, this needs to stop because it doesn't work. I've often believed that that we think of sin, or we think of commandments, rather, we think of commandments as restrictions. Here's all the ways you need to live, and you need to live just like this. And I've wondered, what if commandments were given because commandments are the only ways to actually get needs met, and everything that doesn't meet a need is a sin? And that perspective really helped me. It's just something I thought through. I don't know if it's right or not, but that perspective really helped me realize, what if God is just trying to tell us, hey, here's what brings happiness, here's what doesn't. So I'm going to condemn all the things that don't bring lasting joy, condemn them as in, hey, don't do these, they're not good for you, and praise all the things that do bring lasting joy. So God condemns the sin and says, hey, these things don't work, they're not good. But we somehow seem to believe that the only way we can use the atonement is to not do the unhealthy things and then start doing all the healthy things. Well, that's kind of impossible, because we're constantly learning and growing as people of what our needs actually are and how to get them met. So throughout our lives, we're figuring out, hey, this need, or this behavior doesn't meet a need, or doesn't meet the need I want, or that I actually have underneath. And so let me try some of these other things. But in the meantime, I go back to some of these unhealthy ways because it gets the closest we can to actually meeting the need. And even though it doesn't meet a need, it still gives us some sense of gratification. So consider that using the atonement is actually going to the Lord and saying, hey, I'm going to give my miserable, measly effort, and I know that your way is the right way, and help me as I try and figure this out. And sometimes I'm going to accidentally mess up. I'm going to keep going back to this unhealthy way, and I'm just going to get reminded that it doesn't work. But I know that through your mercy and your grace, you're going to heal me. You're going to cleanse me. So forgive me as I work through this and try to find the little boy or girl inside of me that didn't know the right way to begin with. And let's figure this out as a team. So using the atonement really is this team experience, and it's using the atonement is this compassionate experience where God says, I get it, you're figuring this out, and you just keep figuring it out, you keep messing up, as long as you're committed to me and my plan, then we're good. Just keep recommitting yourself week by week, sacrament cup and breadcrumb by breadcrumb, and you're gonna get this. But just don't give up, okay? Promise me that you're gonna keep at it, and that you're going to recognize that I'm the one healing you, and that this is where healing comes from. And so this idea that we have to somehow stop all the bad behavior really just doesn't work. We actually need to recognize the source of all the good and work towards that while we slowly give up the bad. There's a quote by Elder Christofferson where he says, real repentance, real change may require repeated attempts. And he doesn't put a limit on it and say may require repeated attempts as long as it's only 5 times. He says may require repeated attempts, and there are certain issues such as addiction that those repeated attempts might be the rest of your life. Not to justify and say, go ahead and act out here and there, that's fine. No, a sincere, committed person is diligently striving day by day to give up the old, feeling guilt and going, I really shouldn't have done that. That wasn't healthy. It wasn't good. I'm going to commit myself and move forward, and until that day that I receive the freedom through the atonement that I need. It is impossible for us to find healing without using the atonement of Jesus Christ in our lives. The atonement essentially is asking or is utilizing God, who is already on your side. It's allowing him to be in your support system as the way to find healing, while you surround yourself with your support system, while you use self-compassion, while you learn the tools that you need to learn to resist temptation, and while you figure out your dailies, your daily tasks that meet the healthy needs that you've needed to meet. So it is impossible, without using the atonement, you are effectively doing recovery on your own. And as we know, doing recovery on your own doesn't work and hasn't worked.